Have you ever seen a blue so deep, so pure, it feels like you're staring straight into eternity? Now, imagine that same stunning beauty swallowing people whole, leaving behind nothing but mysteries and hushed whispers. It's true. More than a dozen souls have vanished or met baffling ends within the sapphire embrace of Crater Lake National Park. Their stories echo, unanswered, through its ancient forests. So what dark secrets is this sleeping volcano keeping? Crater Lake National Park, tucked away in Oregon's Cascade Mountains, is a place of absolutely breathtaking views and a deep, profound quiet. Its heart, Crater Lake, isn't just any lake. It's the deepest in the United States. It was born from fire and collapse. A caldera formed almost 7,700 years ago when Mount Mazama blew its top and then fell in on itself. Fed only by rain and snow, its waters are famous for their incredible clarity and that intense blue color, drawing artists, photographers, and countless visitors who just want to soak in its majesty. But beneath this serene surface lies a chilling history, a string of disappearances and deaths that have puzzled investigators for decades. People walk into this wilderness, pulled in by its charm, and sometimes they simply don't walk out. Official explanations often point to accidents or natural causes, but for many cases, the details just don't quite line up, leaving behind a nagging doubt and a haunting question. What really happened to them? The sheer size of Crater Lake is enough to take your breath away. It plunges down to 1,949 feet, a massive basin holding water of almost unimaginable purity. This geological wonder, once called Deep Blue Lake, or even Witch's Cauldron, holds huge spiritual meaning for the Native American tribes of the area, especially the Klamath. Their spoken traditions tell of the lake's violent birth, a legendary battle between Lao, the spirit of the underworld who climbed out of the volcano, and Skell, the spirit of the sky. When Lao was defeated, the mountaintop collapsed, and blue water rushed in to fill the empty space, creating what the Klamath call Giiwas, a sacred place. For the Klamath, Crater Lake wasn't just a body of water. It was a place of immense power, a kind of gateway between our world and the underworld, home to powerful spirits. Legends whispered that if you stared too long into its depths, you risked being mesmerized, caught by the lake's power, maybe even lured to your doom. They respected it deeply, but they also feared it. They understood that such powerful natural forces demand respect. These ancient warnings, born from generations of living with this dramatic landscape, seemed to cast a long shadow, a kind of early warning for the unsettling things that would happen centuries later as more and more outsiders were drawn to its mysterious shores. That pristine beauty, so inviting, also held a wildness, a power for sudden, irreversible change, a truth some unfortunate visitors would learn in the most tragic ways. One of the most baffling and persistent mysteries of Crater Lake is the disappearance and death of Charles McCullar. It was January 1975 when Charles, a 19-year-old aspiring photographer from Virginia who loved the outdoors, arrived at Crater Lake National Park. He planned to spend a few days capturing the stark, quiet beauty of the park in winter before meeting up with a friend in Eugene. He was well equipped for the cold, knew about winter conditions, yet somehow he vanished. McCullar was last seen heading towards the park, planning to hike and take pictures. When he didn't show up by February 1st, his friends reported him missing. A huge search was launched, but it was seriously hampered by the brutal winter weather. Snow depths at the time were recorded at an incredible 102 to 105 inches. That's nearly 9 feet in many parts of the park. The search involved local authorities, and eventually, thanks to the persistent efforts of Charles's father, the FBI. Despite all this, months went by with no sign of the young photographer. It wasn't until nearly 18 months later, in October 1976, that two hikers stumbled upon a grim scene in a remote, boggy area called Bybee Creek, which feeds into the Rogue River. They found Charles McCullar's damaged backpack. Nearby lay his skeletal remains, or what was left of them. The scene was deeply disturbing and, frankly, raised more questions than it answered. McCullar's remains were found about 12 to 14 miles from the North Entrance Road, where he was thought to have started his journey. How could anyone, even a skilled hiker, travel that kind of distance through deep, soft snow without skis or snowshoes, which Charles reportedly didn't have? Skiers at the time said the snow was so soft that even they would sink to their waists. Adding to the mystery, most of his bones were missing. Only a few foot bones, still in his socks, parts of his skull, and his jawbone were recovered. His jeans were found on a log, unbuckled, with broken shin bones inside the pant legs. And critically, his expensive camera equipment and any money he might have had were gone. One of the rangers involved in the recovery reportedly called McCullar the melting man of Crater Lake. While that term is controversial and some official reports dispute it, it really captured the bizarre state of the discovery. The FBI eventually concluded that Charles McCullar had died of natural causes, probably from exposure and hypothermia. This explanation, though, never sat right with a lot of people, especially Charles's father. He remained convinced his son was a victim of foul play, maybe murdered for his camera and money. His body then moved to that remote spot. He pointed to the missing equipment and the almost impossible journey as proof that something far more sinister had happened. The official ruling stands, but the puzzling circumstances, that incredible distance traveled in impossible conditions, the missing gear, the strange state of his remains, make sure that the case of Charles McCullar continues to be a central part of Crater Lake. A stark lore, a chilling reminder of how the wilderness can swallow secrets. All those centuries of Native American reverence and caution about Crater Lake's powerful, mesmerizing waters seem to echo tragically in a more recent incident. In August 2019, the lake claimed another life, this time in an area most people thought was relatively safe and popular for swimming. Sumedh Mannar, a 27-year-old Oregon State University graduate student from India, was visiting Cleetwood Cove, one of only 2 approved swimming spots in the lake. On a Sunday afternoon, Mannar jumped from a cliff known locally as Jumping Rock into the shockingly cold water. It was a popular spot, about 25 feet high, and jumping wasn't forbidden. Witnesses saw him jump, but he just didn't come back up. Panic set in. People there threw a life ring, and park staff responded quickly. But the initial search efforts were made difficult by choppy waters and poor visibility. The search picked up again the next morning. Divers went into the water where Mannar was last seen and found his body about 90 feet below the surface, resting on a rock ledge. Beyond that ledge, the lake bottom drops off steeply to over 1,200 feet. Sumedh Mannar's death was the first recorded drowning at this popular swimming spot. While the official cause was drowning, the incident sent a fresh chill through those who knew the lake's legends. It was a stark reminder that even in designated recreation areas, Crater Lake's depths hold serious dangers. The cold water, which averages around 38 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, can quickly disable even strong swimmers. The suddenness of his disappearance, right at the edge of a huge underwater drop-off, reignited local stories about the lake's mysterious and sometimes dangerous nature, adding another layer to its somber reputation. His passing was a terrible loss for his family and university community. A bright student with a promising future in robotics, whose life ended abruptly in the chilling waters of America's deepest lake. The deep snows and dense forests of Crater Lake National Park don't just take lives. They have a way of holding on to secrets, sometimes for years and years. The case of Glenn Allen Mackie is another unsettling piece in this pattern of disappearances. In October 1991, Mackie, a 33-year-old mechanical engineer from Bree, California, was on a long tour of national parks in the West. He was traveling alone. His car was found in the Rim Village parking lot, a popular viewpoint at 7,100 feet elevation. Inside the car were his driver's license, keys, passport, cash, and toiletries. Stuff you wouldn't usually leave behind if you were planning a long hike or leaving the park. An entrance receipt in his car was dated October 14th, though it wasn't clear if he'd been in the park continuously since then. A heavy snowstorm hit the park around October 23rd, and it was after this that snowplow crews noticed the unclaimed car. A search was launched right away, but conditions were awful. Snow was already deep and kept falling, making it incredibly hard for search teams, which included dogs and up to 40 people. After 5 days with no results, with snow covering any possible clues, the active field search for Glenn Mackie was called off, though the investigation stayed open. Park officials guessed he might have gotten caught in the snow and that his body likely wouldn't be found until the summer melt. Years went by with no sign of Mackie. The park conducted more searches, including helicopter flyovers and boat searches on the lake, but found nothing. Then in the summer of 2007, 16 years after Mackie vanished Scaleo, remains were discovered by a firefighter in a remote, heavily wooded part of the park called Bybee Creek, coincidentally the same general area where Charles McCullar's remains had been found decades earlier. Information about this discovery was initially kept quiet pending further investigation, as winter snows again prevented access until the following summer. Investigators, including FBI agents, returned to the site and recovered limited remains and a few personal items. Dental records were present, offering a chance for identification. Authorities contacted Glenn Allen Mackie's family, admitting the possibility that the remains could be his. The Bybee Creek area was described as very remote, not a place hikers would typically go. The cause of death remained unknown, and there were no immediate signs of foul play. Whether these remains were definitively identified as Glenn Mackie isn't clearly stated in widely available public records. But the discovery itself highlights the park's ability to hide the lost for incredibly long times. His car, left with all his essential belongings, points to a sudden, unplanned departure from his vehicle into a wilderness that, for him, offered no way back. The disappearances of Charles McCullar, Sumedh Mannar, and Glenn Allen Mackie are some of the most well-documented, but they're far from the only unsettling incidents that cast a shadow over Crater Lake. The park's history is dotted with numerous other vanishings, unexplained deaths, and eerie events that add to its mystique. Even the skies above Crater Lake aren't immune. In 1944, on a clear day, one of two Grumman torpedo planes flying in formation over the lake just vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. No distress call. It was presumed to have crashed into the lake. Its wreckage and pilot never recovered from those immense depths. Another report mentions a plane with a pilot and two trainees disappearing from radar at 11,000 feet. Their wreckage wasn't found for years, with some thinking it too ended up in the lake. Children have been lost here too. In October 2006, 8-year-old Samuel Boehlke was with his father near Cleetwood Cove. Accounts vary a bit. Some say they were playing hide and seek. Others that Sammy ran ahead up an embankment and into the woods. Whatever happened, he vanished without a trace. Despite huge searches and the added tragedy of snowfall that night, Sammy, who had a mild form of autism and was reportedly afraid of loud noises, was never found. The records of Crater Lake even contain bizarre suicides, like that of a Mr. Cornelius in 1947. He reportedly handed his wallet and watch to his wife, then slid down a rock chute, injuring himself badly, only to then crawl to the water's edge and drown himself. And the list just goes on, with reports of unexplained deaths and disappearances stretching back as far as the 1850s. Several things make the park dangerous. The extreme weather is a big one. Heavy snowfall, easily exceeding 100 inches, is common, and conditions can change in a flash, catching visitors unprepared. Many disappearances happen in remote, rugged parts of the park, making search and rescue operations incredibly difficult. The lake itself, with its frigid waters and steep underwater drop-offs, presents its own unique dangers. Given the unexplained nature of some of these events, it's probably not surprising that Crater Lake has become a hotspot for paranormal speculation. Tales of Sasquatch sightings in the dense surrounding forests keep popping up. UFOs have reportedly been seen, with one notable account from 1997 describing bright discs speeding across the lake and lights disappearing into the water. Ghostly campfires are said to flicker on Wizard Island, vanishing when rangers get close. The historic Crater Lake Lodge is also rumored to be haunted. And then there's the Old Man of the Lake, a 30-foot tree stump that has been floating perfectly upright in the lake for over a century, seeming to defy the ordinary. Laws of physics, and even some say, influencing the weather if disturbed. A unique moss found only deep within the lake also grows on it, which might help its buoyancy. While natural explanations, harsh conditions, accidents, animal encounters, or simply getting lost in a vast wilderness likely explain many of these tragedies, a stubborn core of mystery clings to Crater Lake. The sheer number of incidents, the baffling details in cases like McCullar's, and that ancient sense of foreboding all contribute to an atmosphere where the line between the explainable and the uncanny seems to get very blurry. So, what do you think is behind Crater Lake's unsettling history? Are these tragic accidents simply amplified by a tough environment, or are there other, more mysterious forces at work here? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If you found this investigation intriguing, please give this video a like and subscribe for more explorations into the unknown. Crater Lake National Park is, without a doubt, a place of stunning, almost otherworldly beauty. Its sapphire waters reflect the sky, offering a vision of peace and grandeur. Yet, this quiet beauty is forever tinged with a darker, more mysterious legacy. The stories of those who vanished, the questions that hang unanswered in the cold, clear depths and the silent, snow-covered forests, serve as a haunting reminder. Some places, no matter how beautiful, keep their secrets very well. The vanishing act at Crater Lake continues to mystify, leaving us all to wonder what other enigmas this deep blue caldera holds, hidden just beneath the surface of its breathtaking face.